Welcome to Gutterball. This is Will Sanchez. My very special guest today is Matthew LeBow. He runs for the Staten Island Athletic Club, and he's a race director too. This is a very interesting show because we have a lot to learn.
Thank you for having me, Will. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. We've got a lot to cover, but first let's get started about where were you born and something about your childhood.
I was born and raised in Staten Island, New York. Spent most of my time when I was growing up in the woods because most of the area around us was still woods. It was before they started building all the townhouses and craziness that's now in Staten Island. So I was always in the woods, always drawn to the woods and the trails, and used to ride our bikes in there and run and play manhunt. And just growing up there, that was what we did. We just hung out in the woods and played and went wild until it got dark. Then never really took running seriously when I was younger, and as I got older, I got into weightlifting and I started playing football for high school. And I had a gym teacher in Tottenville High School. His name was Mr. Tracy. He was anti-football, pro-baseball, and track. So he used to go back and forth with me all the time about the football team and how it's a waste of time and how I should be a runner and this. So one day he challenged me to a race, a 2-mile race around the track at Tottenville High School. And we raced 2 miles, and he did beat me. He was a runner, so he beat me. But I did the first 2 miles of my life in 12 minutes.
That's not too bad at all.
It wasn't too bad, and I was more of a, into the weightlifting thing. Yeah, it was 6-minute miles. So from that point on, I started running, and I just enjoyed it so much. And not so much the competitive side as much as the camaraderie of it all. And I found, you can make some really great friends and really work things out when you're just out there running, and it just became such a peaceful and relaxing and enjoyable thing for me to do. And then I took advantage of it too. I had an early curfew. I have strict parents. I was the oldest of 6 kids. So I used to use jogging as my excuse after dinner to go out. So I'd say, okay, I got to go for a run. And I had friends all over Staten Island, and I would run, 5 miles to Tottenville and, hang out for an hour or two and then run 5 miles home and then run to Bay Terrace the next night and then run home. So it's just, I was out there getting to socialize, and I was doing it all by running from place to place, and still drawn to the woods. So I started going, back to the trails where I used to ride my bike and everything. Started running in there. Cross country was kind of interesting, but it was during football season, so I really didn't get to take part in it. And then the High Rock Challenge, how that came about with all of this is, just running the local races, the 5Ks on the street that are in every community, and knowing the Kelly family and getting to know John Kelly from running in those events. And we were running friends. Like, that's where we'd see each other on the weekends at these events, so we'd run together.
Who was John Kelly?
He grew up on Staten Island. His family's very predominant on the island. He has a brother who owns a tree service who was also a member of the police department, an elite unit. He was a Harbor Unit police officer. John Kelly was with the auto larceny unit. They have another brother that's in the fire services, and very civil service, very exactly what you expect to find in Staten Island and Queens, real homegrown, an bunch of Irish guys running around Staten Island. And he got killed in an automobile accident while he was working. He was pursuing a motorcycle that was stolen. His car lost control and hit a telephone pole, and he perished. And another friend of mine, who was also friends with John, decided that he wanted to put this race together in John's memory, and he wanted to do something a little bit crazier because the Kelly boys were a little bit crazier than everyone else. So he came up with the idea of the High Rock Challenge, and he's an ultra endurance athlete as well. His name's Chris Ballou. The accident happened in 2000, and we planned the first event for April of 2001.
Okay.
All the NYPD members that were friends with his brothers and his friends and everything else got involved, and we put together this event called the High Rock Challenge, and it was 2 purposes. One, because we all love the High Rock too. We wanted to memorialize John. We thought this was a good opportunity to get some people into High Rock Park to get to see what it's all about.
Didn't realize High Rock is the name of a park in Staten Island?
Yeah, within the Greenbelt Conservancy.
Okay. The
Greenbelt Conservancy, just if I can get off topic for a second, it's the largest park in New York City. It's not very well known by most of the people outside of Staten Island. It's 2,700 acres currently, and I say currently because it's about to almost double in size. As the Staten Island landfill park conversion occurs, that's all going to be part of the Greenbelt. It's part of the same park system. It's all connected. Wow. So we'll be looking at close to 6,000 acres of park. And within the 2,700 acres that we currently have, we have over 32 miles of single track trail 32
Wow.
miles of pristine single track trail. I've had the opportunity to run in quite a few different places.
Uh-huh.
I like the North Face Endurance Challenge, one of my favorite race series. A friend of mine, Nick Moore, is the race director. I think he does a great job. And I like to go out and do his races. So I've done DC, I've done Atlanta, I've done Harriman State Park with them. And, you know, the Greenbelt gets you ready for all of them. You know, it doesn't matter how extreme it is or how crazy it is. The Greenbelt has just enough of everything. The Greenbelt itself is several parks. It's Latourette Park, Willowbrook Park, Deer Park, and High Rock Park. And then High Rock is basically the center of it, and that's where they have the nature center. They have an education center. All the activity is run from High Rock Park. That's the base of operations, I guess.
Okay, now we were talking about the challenge. So what is the challenge?
So the challenge is a two-person team event. We're actually the longest running obstacle course race. It's very popular now. Everybody is talking about obstacle, Tough Mudder and Spartan and Warrior Dash and all this.
I know.
And they're all relatively new within the last 5 years. The High Rock Challenge has been going since 2001. And we're an obstacle course race with a twist. So we have the standard obstacles that everyone else has. We have ladder walls and cargo nets you got to climb over, and tunnels you have to crawl through, mud pits you got to roll through. But the unique aspect of our race, we really try and get people to partake as a team. So we throw different twists in there. A couple of things we have them doing together this year. In our mud pit last year, we had them connect their hands, their opposite hands. So if we're standing next to each other, my right hand is connected to your left hand. And the only way to go through a mud pit that way is head to head with your hands extended. So you have to roll through the whole entire thing. So most people try and crawl through it and stay as clean as possible. This way, there was no other way to do it but to roll. So everybody got completely covered in mud. So this year we took it a step in a different direction, and we're connecting a wrist and an ankle. So on one side of your body, you have to move in unison through the mud pit. So your feet and your arm have to move together, and you have to be communicating with each other to make this happen.
It's a two-person
appropriately.
challenge.
A two-person challenge.
Now, when you say they don't know they're going to be doing that this weekend, they
No.
learn some of the, so they haven't been training for that particular
For that
move.
particular aspect, no.
And that makes it part of the fun for them.
That makes it fun for them because they have no idea what they're getting into. They have no idea what they're getting into.
But a little bit because they've seen the past
They've
videos.
seen the past, and we try and come up with completely different stuff, which is hard after 13. This is the 13th year of the race. We missed a year a few years back, but we do math problems, we do word problems, and you have to do something together. So with the math problem this year, one person is getting locked to a tree. So you're going to be locked to a tree with 30 or 40 strangers, around this huge tree, and there's a few of them that are going to be set up like this, and your partner has to leave. So you guys have to know who's stronger in math. So you have to know each other. The person that's not as good in math is the one connected to the tree, because the other person is going to have to go do a math problem and come back with a combination to unlock you and free you from your tree jail. So it's fun.
That's interesting. So what kind of person is attracted to that kind of race?
We have everything from moms doing it with their 13-year-old children to couples that are 60 years old and just wanted to try something different. We have people that walk the entire thing. They just want to experience all the obstacles. And then we have hardcore athletes. Our most competitive group is the fire department. We had, in 2001, the first year, Lieutenant Vinnie Giamona had run the race. He actually ran it with, get a little upset about these things sometimes. He ran the race with my brother, who's a fireman in Manhattan also. And he passed away on 9/11. So
he was killed, you mean?
He was killed on 9/11, yep. So because he won the race with my brother that year, we have an award for him as well. So all the firemen come because they want to take home the Vinnie Giamona Award at the end of the day, which is a beautiful brass axe. And the law enforcement come and they want to take home the John Kelly Award, which is a law enforcement plaque that they get to take home and brag about it for the year, and then they bring it back next year, and the next winning team gets it. So it's there's a lot of history to the race.
Really,
on top
13 years. And so you got two big awards. Any other awards?
We do all kinds of awards. We do parent-child for the parent that runs the race with their kid.
Okay.
We do sanitation. We do New York City parks. We do EMS. We do 55 and over. We do 18 and under. We do cops and kids, which is a category we have where police officers run with a child from either a high school team or someone in the area that they work.
Right.
So they find a high school student that wants to run with them, or someone that they've had run-ins with and runs with them, and they get to run the race for free. And we do usually about 10 of those.
My goodness, that's quite elaborate. And this is every year.
Every year.
So mostly people from Staten Island, or is it from all over?
Everywhere. We had 2 years ago the couple that won overall co-ed team, because you could win male team, which is 2 males, female team, 2 females, of course, then co-ed.
It's co-ed, male, female,
yeah. So the overall co-ed team was from the Canary Islands.
Canary Islands.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder how they found out about it. I guess it's a small world.
It's a small world, and people come here, and when I go away, I always try and find a little local event to take part in, and a lot of
because I first heard of it, frankly, when I was looking you up. I said, what? I said, how did I miss this?
What's going on out there in Staten Island?
It's not a race I would participate in, because I said, wow, it takes a special kind of person to want to do this. I mean, you got to have the right attitude, because this is not your typical race. This is I don't know what to call it. It's an adventure.
It's an adventure. One of the things I used to say about it, I have a couple sayings about the race that I think really sum up the race. One of them is the race where everybody knows your name, because it's been around for so long, and it's such a community, and just all the gyms that are there that compete, and all the different firehouses, and all the police officers from all over, and all the different running clubs. Everybody knows each other, and it's, we really take it down to 2 degrees of separation. We get much closer than the 6. And we have people from all over the place, and they know everybody, and they get accepted right into it. It still has, that's one of our arguments, is whether we should try and make it bigger or not. And it's because we have such a great community feel, such a sense of family, that we really love the atmosphere.
So how big is it then?
This year we'll probably cap out at about 900 competitors.
So 450
teams.
Now, if somebody wanted to train for this, do you offer training programs?
There's a free training program. One of the sponsors is a gym called Next Level Fitness out on Staten Island, and they do free training in High Rock Park every Saturday morning for 8 weeks leading up to the event.
Preparation for the race is very important. Many people come out of here straight from the couch to trying to run the High Rock, and it's an eye-opening experience. So as a tip, preparation 5 weeks before, and that's what we offer here with our free training at High Rock. Getting yourself familiar with trails, and also a little body weight, lifting yourself, pull-ups, push-ups, that sort of stuff.
It's the last Saturday of April.
Last Saturday in April.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can start training in March, early March.
Easily, and you'll be ready. And one of the things, one of the other things that we say, other than the race where everybody knows your name, is you really, if you're thinking about getting married to your significant other, and whatever they may be, whatever you guys are going through, go out and do the High Rock Challenge first.
If you survive that.
If you survive that, if you can come out of that and you guys are still in love, then you guys should go for it.
I didn't know it was a marital test. It's an everything kind of thing.
It's an everything kind of thing. If you can make it through and you're still happy with each other and you didn't fight the whole entire way, you guys were meant to be.
Now, as a race director, there are certain issues. I guess you got it all covered in terms of insurance, the permits, all that. But they also always worry about people not being qualified to do it, because unfortunately sometimes there's injuries. So how do you handle that kind of thing?
We're very lucky on Staten Island. We have tremendous support from the volunteer organizations that are out there. So since day one, we've had a volunteer heart ambulance service out there with us. They have EMTs, first aiders, and paramedics, and they have golf cart, gators, with the stretchers on them, and they come out and support, and they're all over our course. They stretch out over the full course. The course is at least 10K. We say at least 10K because
7 miles or so?
7 miles or so, yeah. Because we always try and do it different, so we don't want to lock into a set distance. Plus, we do a navigation section where if you get, depending on how you think, you might go a little longer than you need to. You have to go find some points and stuff. You might get a little lost, a little turned around. Another great organization that we deal with is Port Richmond Cert, Community Emergency Response Team. They're very active.
Oh, Port Richmond Cert is very well known, very active. I think they have their own ambulances and equipment.
They have their own equipment. They have their own radio antennas. They man checkpoints for me throughout the whole entire course, and they coordinate with the EMTs. And then we have Metropolitan Fire, which is a fire department explorer post, and they come out with a fire truck.
Okay.
And so we have great crew. The toughest part of doing a race in the Greenbelt, it's a conservancy. So it's a natural area, and we want to keep it a natural area and as beautiful and pristine as we possibly can. So as the race director, I have several objectives, particularly when it comes to the Greenbelt. I love that place. That is, it's the password on my computers. Now I gotta go home and change it.
Now you know.
Now I gotta go home and change it. But when I'm setting up the course, I'm thinking with my course flow, I try and spread people out as fast as I possibly can, so that at no point in time is there people running more than 2 wide, ever. So I don't start with more than 50 teams in a heat.
Okay.
So 50 teams in a team of 2, and I usually give them something absolutely ridiculous to do first, so that they have to, get themselves together before they could go. They've had to pull each other in a sled across the lawn before. We've tied them together and started the race tied together and made them roll through the mud pit last year. This year we're making them take their shoes off. And they have to tie their shoes together. So 4 shoes tied together. We're going to throw them about 25 yards in front of the starting line. Go to start. You're going to have to go find your shoes, untie your shoes, get your shoes on, and then go.
It takes people with the right attitude to do this. I would be annoyed if I took my shoes.
Annoyed.
No, you're not.
And people get annoyed until it's over, and then they're just completely flat. They're so enthralled.
You mentioned it's a Greenbelt, so obviously the litter is important, so you got to be green.
You litter, you're out of the race. And in all honesty, if I see you littering and there's a pep officer by there, I'm going to say this person just littered and get you a ticket too, because that's my Greenbelt, and I don't want litter on my.
All right, they understand out front.
They understand up front.
That's a very, ecologically sound place. You want to keep it that way.
Yeah, we want to keep it that way.
Now, in races, usually all you need is your shoes and your T-shirt. Here, it sounds like you're going to need long pants and gloves and what are the special equipment?
I recommend to first-timers or people that don't work with their hands a lot to wear a pair of like weightlifting type of gloves, or even like wide receiver gloves that a football player might wear. Something that's not going to be slippery when you grab onto metal poles and pipes, or you're carrying a sandbag or some other objects. Something that has some grip to it, and just so you don't rip your hands up and don't go slipping off the poles if you don't have a good strong grip. I do recommend pants. Crawling through the mud pits and going through some of the areas there is some poison ivy, so it's just better off to wear long pants. And ticks you also have to worry about in any natural area, of course. So the more covered up you are, the better.
Yeah.
And I believe, I like long sleeves. I wear long sleeves almost all year round, especially out there, because I get sunburn easily.
But it's only 7 miles. I guess this is a straight line. Is it a point to point?
It's a loop.
It's a loop.
Yeah, it's a loop.
Okay.
So you go out this year's course, last year's course, we brought you in and you thought you were going to finish, then you had to go out for another 3/4 of a mile.
Part of the trick.
Part of the trick, part of the mind games we play.
Yeah. Now, do people carry cell phones or?
We strongly recommend that they don't. Only because there's areas where you might find yourself going through some water or going down the slip and slide.
And
or
I guess there's no chance of getting them lost. I mean, I guess there's enough people there. Go that way.
Yeah. Okay. The fastest runners will actually finish in an hour and change.
Okay.
The slowest runners, I expect 2.5 hours.
Oh, so under 3. Okay.
Yeah. So we should be all right.
All right. Well, sounds like a lot of fun. We mentioned you're a member of SIAC, the Staten Island Athletic Club. Tell us about that.
Staten Island Athletic Club. It's the oldest running club on Staten Island. They've been around for years. When I first started with Chris putting the High Rock Challenge together, they were actually my mortal enemies, because they were a traditional running club with. As you could see and listen, I'm more of I like to get out and run because I like to get out and run. I don't wear a watch. If I'm out there for 3 hours, that's that much better. I'm in no rush to get through the woods and the trails or the desert or wherever it is I may find myself. And they're hardcore. They were at the time a hardcore. All about the time, all about the distance. So, that's one of the reasons why we started saying at least 10K is because the course was originally 10K. Yeah. And it was off by, 1/10 of a mile here one year and 1/10 of a mile there the next year. And then we would just blast us with, the course isn't accurate and all this kind of stuff. And we used to go back and forth on text messages, on forums and everything. And, looking back now, it's very funny. And then, over time, from doing the High Rock Challenge and getting out into the woods, and we do a bunch of other trail races there too. And the main reason we did those was to start bringing people into the woods more, because the trails weren't being utilized. And if they're not going to be utilized, that means they're going to be open for other people to come in with other ideas on what to do with these green and open spaces.
Oh, like motor vehicles.
Like motor vehicles and putting a highway through, and
that's the
selling
problem.
off pieces of it for building. And, and the Greenbelt Conservancy is a nonprofit, so having people that support it and utilize it and contribute to it is going to help us keep it, and expand it and keep it beautiful and fresh. And as they started doing the High Rock Challenge and got away from it's all about the time, it's all about the distance, and started to understand the fun and the enjoyment and the pleasure of being out there, and
getting dirty
and not having to worry about buses passing you while you're running is such a a unique idea to so many people. So they've come, and now they're all trail runners. They have a SIAC Extreme group within the club itself, and Chris Calamano, God bless him, one of our SIAC Extreme members, who got into ultra running from running through the trails and running through the Greenbelt. He did the 4 Desert Series last year. He completed all 4 races in that series, which is the Gobi Desert, the Sahara Desert, Antarctica, and Atacama.
Antarctica is considered a desert?
Antarctica is a desert, the coldest. The 4 deserts are, it's the coldest, the highest, the hottest, and the driest. So I get them mixed up, except for Antarctica. I know that's the coldest.
I've never heard of the 4 deserts. I've heard of all sorts of crazy ultras, but this is the first. Yeah,
the 4 deserts here.
You're another fascinating world that I don't know much about at all. Yeah. It's interesting.
It's the ultra world, when you do the stage races in particular. The most amazing part about it is the person that gets the most applause and the most people in more awe of than anything is the last person to finish. Because that person, was going through hell for at least 12 hours that day. And we're talking about, extreme temperatures, extreme wind, extreme environments, extreme climbs.
If you're doing the 4 deserts, yeah.
Yeah, if you're doing the 4 deserts. Or the last one I did that was called the Grand to Grand. There was this young lady, Tina, and she was determined to do this race, and she had lost so much weight before she got there, and she was not going to not finish for anything. And she was the last person finished every day. Grand to Grand, it starts on the southwest rim of the Grand Canyon, and it goes 167 miles to the top of the Grand Staircase in Utah.
How many days are you supposed to do?
7 days. 7 days. And this girl finished last every day, and every day she got to the checkpoints just in time.
Oh, there was a cutoff.
There's a cutoff. Yeah, if you don't make the cutoff, you're off the race.
And she just made it.
She just made it every single time. And you know what? She smiled every single time you saw her. She was smiling, and she was just happy to be there and happy to make it. And everybody was there for her. Like, the whole entire race wanted to see Tina finish at the end of every stage, at the end of every day. And that's what the ultra community is, just so much more than just running. It's, I say, like, after the Boston bombing, I got an opportunity to do a quick interview press thing on Staten Island, because the borough president just announced a cross-country track thing. And I said, when you attack a group of people such as runners, especially ultra runners, marathon runners, people that go the distance, they have such understanding and compassion, and are so in touch with the worst and the best of what everything has to offer, just from training and being there and giving it all you got, and blood, sweat, and tears. And when you're in these tents at these ultras, you're in tents with people from every single part of the world, and it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You could, England, Scotland, Greece.
Right.
Everyone's just stuck together in a tent.
Yeah.
You never met this person before.
That's right.
You're in your worst possible state. You smell because you can't shower, and you just finished running. Imagine not being able to take a shower after doing a marathon. Add 5 miles to that, and 6 days. So for 6 days you do a marathon, 7 days you do a marathon. You don't get to shower when you're finished. You go to the tent, and you have to lay next to perfect strangers, male and female.
Now, is this the Canyon to Canyon?
This is all of them. This is the way the stage races are. Whether it's the MDS, the Grand to Grand, or the 4 Desert Series, that's the way they are. They put you in a tent, they sign you to a tent, they try and mix it up with the different nations. You really get to know people. And there is nothing, by day 3, that tent is functioning and working together like the most well put together family anywhere. You know, because you know what each other's going through, and you are feeling it, and you're experiencing it, and everybody helps each other and works together, and it's amazing. It's just an amazing group of people.
I've had other ultramarathoners, but I don't think I've gotten the sense of smell that you bring to it. I can feel the aroma. It's like, whoa. I think I'm more of a clean-cut racer.
Clean-cut racer.
Listen, we're almost out of time. I know you got the High Rock coming up this weekend.
Yes, sir.
Are there anything that it's a personal challenge for you in terms of racing that's coming up?
The next race I plan to do is going to be in August. It's called the Emerald Necklace. It's up in New Hampshire. It's 80 miles over 3 days up in the White Mountains, and it's it just looks. I've done deserts for the last 3, so I'm looking forward to getting up into the mountains, up into the White Mountains, and experiencing.
That's a great name, Emerald Necklace.
The Emerald Necklace.
So that means a lot of greens.
A lot of greens, a lot of up and downs, and I love the up and downs.
Okay, so that's your personal. Is there something, a special trail race or an obstacle race you're going to be doing in the future?
I'm very excited that we're working with the New York City Parks Department, and we're also working with the New York chapter of the USATF, and we're trying to get together a New York City Trail Series. We currently have, Staten Island is bursting with trail races. We have a trail race almost every month out on Staten Island. So now, with the USATF's guidance, we're going to start expanding it to a couple of the other boroughs that are, that have the capability of holding a trail race. Brooklyn is a little tough, but the Bronx has quite a few spaces where we could use to do a legitimate trail series. Queens has several parks where we could get a legitimate trail race in. And believe it or not, the first one is going to be July 11th right here in Manhattan. And I'm going to give you a trail experience that will knock your socks off up on the Upper East Side in High Bridge Park.
High Bridge Park.
Yeah, the High Bridge is going to be opening up this summer, and as part of all the opening festivities and things leading up to it, we're going to do a 5K trail race up and down High Bridge. Hasn't been announced yet. It's going to be announced. This is going to be the announcement.
We got an exclusive.
We said there'll be a surprise coming up in Manhattan, so
well,
this is an exclusive.
We'll be airing this show in about 2 weeks.
That's perfect.
All right, listen, on that note, thank you so much for dropping in.
Thank you very much for having me. Well, it was a pleasure.
Whoa, this is tremendous. I think I've learned more from you than from any other show.
I find that hard to believe, but thank you.